amazing. I am right now backing out of my driveway trying to stay focused. Because I need motivation. Can you believe it? The queen of motivation herself. Yeah. So, if you hear sound effects, I apologize. The truth be told, I am right now writing a paper and I am just kind of in a moment of brain intoxication, freeze, cloud, all those words that describe, cannot determine what's my next maneuver. So it's a focus thing, and for me, I always have a lot to do on my mind. I get paid to think, believe it or not, and it's part of what I do and what I've always done. I always figure things out, problems. So in this scenario, it's not a problem. I don't have a problem to figure out. Therefore, I lack my motivation. The issue here is I need to create or defend what my research is, my qualitative research. And, it boggles my mind because honestly, it's pretty simple. It's straightforward. I have an outline. I'm never in a position where I need to motivate myself to write anything. I can write pages and pages of nonsense. So for me, it needs to be is this the word sensical? It needs to make sense. And this is what I'm talking to you all about today. Motivation. Yes, so stay tuned and we'll be right back. Right after this. Welcome back. Oh boy. Whew, it's a hot day outside, I gotta tell you. It is not hot day, it's a hot day. Hot. But I did all my shopping. I feel good. Life is amazing as usual. Got everything my kids need, everybody needs, everyone's taken care of. Whew. I gotta tell you, thank you so much for bearing with me. That short little break for you was a nice break for me. Where do we find our motivation from? I find my motivation in many places. Sometimes, believe it or not, it's about strategy. Like, I need to do something, so I have no choice. So therefore, because I don't have a choice, I'm motivated. I have to do it. It's a have to do. I'll give you an example. The other day, my children, I was preparing them, for the new year, and I like to sweep out the new year, as you say. The old superstition in my family, you sweep out the new year. And that involves really going through their room and sweeping it out. And in one of my son's room, I found a pile of clothes, everywhere under the bed. And, he's a young one, so, he still doesn't have the know to, not do that and keep it clean and stuff, but that's okay. So I went through there, and in the seeking she will find, she meaning me, I found 2 loads of laundry. So now I have 2 loads of laundry that I have to get through, fold it, and so I had him go through it and tell me what still fits and what is just dirty. And now I have extra laundry that I wasn't anticipating, but I have to fold it and get it moving because I don't like anything sitting in my house like that, like an eyesore. That's another thing that, some people have amazing, beautiful houses that's out of a magazine. Some people don't. I wouldn't say I'm either or, but I do not like eyesores. I do not like things that create a distraction or look dirty or anything like that. I don't like that. So I like everything to be wiped up, put away, end of the night, fresh start in the morning, and anything that's even if it's a dot on the floor. And I give my grandma credit for that because my grandmother had a white carpet, and then one day she was like, "What's that on the floor?" I swear, clear across the house, she went and picked up, it was a little white dot on the floor. So I had to laugh about that, right? So, but sometimes the motivation comes from I have to do this. So that's the first category. Things you have to do is in itself a motivation because it has to get done. Now, there are people that have to do things and still don't do it. So that's a self-evaluation. What's going on there, okay? So now every single day, morning, rain or shine, I always wake up and I prepare my children a meal. Now, I used to create hot meals every morning, and then they told me, I wanted to have this instead or that instead. So even if I'm exhausted and tired, I still do it, except for Sundays. Sunday's a day of rest, and that's the day the Lord said I'll take too. But I do want them to have a meal every day, and not something instant, like something prepared by their mom. And that is because my mom passed away when I was a young person. So I want my children to remember these moments of what my mom used to do. And it's very important to me that they have those memories. A lot of the memories that I have of my mom, was of me helping her, and she was ill. And I really want there to be a present stage of development when they think back, like, I remember my mom used to make this or this. For me, it's important. So that's also motivation. So I wake up every day, I do that. If my son says, oh my gosh, my little son cracks me up, because he'll say, it's not delicious, it's godly good. He'll say, Mom, this is godly good. And it cracks me up. But when he says that and I have that reaction from him, it makes me want to prepare it again. Like, I know my son loves my meatballs. No matter what, he loves my meatballs. And he'll say to me, oh, Mom, this is godly good. And then my middle son, when I do his macaroni right, or his pasta right, or his chicken right, he'll say, Mom, this is bussin'. This is bussin'. So, and my oldest son, it's like my oldest I can almost count on. Every single thing I make, my oldest son says to me, Mom, this is amazing. And I love that. And it really does motivate me to want to prepare more for them and create more for them. And, sometimes I want my husband to not put hot sauce, ketchup, and salt and pepper on my food. But, like last night, there was a plate half empty, and I looked at him like, really? But he wasn't feeling well. So I was like, all right. Something about when someone enjoys your food is motivation. That feeling that you please them. And let me tell you, sometimes I could be a people pleaser, but I'm a horoscope. I'm an Aries. So, I'm very, I want to be pleased too. So, but I'm always focused on this sense of loyalty, and this loyalty has an attachment to a sense of happiness and well-being in others. I love to be generous to others, and part of that feedback I like is that, wow, this is good, thank you. I love that feeling. So that's another part of my motivation. The feedback that I get that's positive, and it's built with affirmations for myself. You understand? Sometimes you want a positive response back to you, right? I mean, there's been times I've gone grocery shopping and haven't bought myself one thing, and everything I bought I put away, and my kids feel happy that they have these things, even if it's milk and cheese. And one of my sons loves yogurt, so when he has his yogurt, he gets all excited, right? The other thing is when I put my stuff away, right? So a lot of people, they just throw their stuff away, whatever. I put my cereal, all the cereal in the house, in its own container. And the reason why I do that is because of my strategy of keeping a budget. So I have a budget. So you may see on TikTok trends, people put their stuff in containers, right? The reason why I do it is because every time I buy, let's say, cereal, okay, it holds half a bag in the container. So when I see that container is empty, I know it's time to restock. That's how I keep track. And in my pantry is where I keep the restock. So, I have all these different mechanisms to stay on task, which for me really hones into my family budget. That is how I truly like to stay on task, right there. Now, with that said, other motivators, right? So sometimes we have motivators that are not really about our feeling of good and are not really about what we need. And I'm going to jump into that in just a moment. Sit tight for me. I'll be right back. Welcome back. The good news is I'm not in my car anymore, but when I get inspired, I can't wait for a quiet soundproof area. I gotta express, right? Because I'm motivated. Well, I wanted to also speak about two types of motivation that really focus on different factors, the internal factor and the external factor. So there's the intrinsic motivation, which is the internal factor, and then there's the extrinsic motivation, which is the external factor. So you may be thinking, I don't know if I'm intrinsic or if I'm extrinsic or what actually is motivating you or me. Well, to be an intrinsic motivation, it happens when you want to do something out of something that is valuable to you or something pleasurable, right? So this is kind of comes from you. So as I was mentioning, maybe the feeling of getting an affirmation, or maybe you want to take it to the vain side, because I always like to go there. Maybe you want to get a facial because you want to, so you're motivated because you get it that you want, right? Now, the other version, the external factor, is the extrinsic motivation, which comes from something wanting to happen or wanting to do something. So this can actually be a positive or a negative piece in a behavioral output that you have. Now, sometimes the motivation is positive and sometimes it's negative. For example, clean your room or you will lose your Wi-Fi. So this is a motivation to clean my room on the negative end, right? Because I'm gonna get in trouble if I don't do it. Don't speed or you'll get a ticket. So the motivation not to go and speed is you don't want to have an issue with getting a speeding ticket, right? First person to pass this line wins a prize. Oh, a prize. Okay, well now I'm going to get a reward, right? If I don't cheat on my diet by Friday, I'm going to get myself ice cream. Here's another reward, right? So these are ideas of things that have value or can have repercussions. These are types of motivation too. So in your life, when you're trying to figure out how to navigate motivation, there's so many different aspects. You know, some people, when they work out, what do they have? Motivational, workout music, right? Or if someone comes up to you and you're feeling down and they're like, hey, how are you? Sometimes your reaction is like, not good, leave me alone, right? But sometimes you're like, you know what? I feel better because they're in a great energy. I'm going to take a little bit of that energy for myself, right? So there's all these different perspectives. Now, here's another thing. I always talk about this all the time, and I talk about prescribing time, right? So if you don't have a planner, if you have an old-fashioned handwritten planner, kudos to you. If you have one on your computer, kudos to you. If you have one on your phone, kudos to you. Whatever it is that you have that organizes time. Now, if you don't have a planner, could you go get one? You could download it. It's probably free on your phone. But the reason why is I don't want you to schedule every minute in your life. But as I mentioned in previous podcasts, when you allocate specific time to do things, it becomes an appointment. Therefore, it becomes extrinsic in your motivation. So it's not something that necessarily you wake up and want to do, but it's something you kind of have to do because it's probably a positive or negative reward or repercussion. For example, let's say you want to work out and you don't have the motivation. But if it's on your phone or in your planner, okay, 5 a.m. this morning, I'm going to do 10 push-ups. Here comes your alarm. Oh, my alarm's on. Your mindset is a little bit different. Because you have a goal that is set up every day, every other day. Oh, time to wake up. I got to go work out. Now, some of you may say, well, that doesn't work for me because I hit snooze on my alarm. That's fine. That's not something that works for you. So you have to figure out what works for me. What do I do in my life that truly allows me to get motivated? You know, think about it. What can it be? Is it something that you do that is community? Is it something that you do that's volunteer giving back? These type of things you need to figure out. And, you know, of course, you can always reach out to me and I can help you work through that and try to figure out, well, what can we do to set up goals, long-term, short-term, intermediate. But the idea here is, I'll give you an example. Every single day, when I wake up, the first thing I do is jumping jacks. I don't care who's around me. I don't care what time it is. Sometimes I'll walk to the bathroom and do it, and I just do jumping jacks, 10 jumping jacks, just to get the oxygen flowing. And it's not like lazy. It's like full arm swing and jumping jacks. I've been doing this for 10 years. Now, if you met me, maybe 20 years, if you met me, you wouldn't see, I'm not skinny. This is not a tactic that helps me with weight loss. It's nothing like that. It helps me wake up and get in the vibe. And I always say, when you do anything that involves energy, whether it's intake or outtake, you get endorphins. So if I'm exerting energy and jumping around and running around, even though I'm tired, I'm in a better mood. And you can test me on that. Go ahead and do 10 jumping jacks. Tell me how you feel. Oh, I feel tired and thirsty. Oh, well, you haven't been doing a lot for a while, right? So, I always say schedule it out. If I have to go grocery shopping, okay, I'm going grocery shopping on Tuesday. I do laundry, I do it on Thursdays. Give me all your dirty clothes on Thursdays. By Friday, it's put away. Don't come to me on Sunday with stinky socks, because that's going to go to the next laundry. I'm not doing laundry every day, wasting electricity bill. You see, my whole thing, I'm always budget conscious. I don't want to waste. And while you have a washer and dryer, that's not wasteful. Yeah, it is. I don't want the washer and dryer running all the time. I think that it's really not good to my energy bill, but overall, it's just not a good look. I like to be organized and strategic with how I plan my days. And, sometimes I can overplan, and then I'm like, what, let me take this down a notch. Most of the time, I'm pretty organized and efficient. I'll give you an example. My school week for learning is Thursday. Every Thursday is the beginning of the week for school. What I like to do on Thursday is go through content. My idea is always content heavy. So I wake up very early, get everybody set for the day, and then I come and I study all my stuff. Now, when I say study in particular, the study is not me having to really sit here with the highlighters. It's just reading through the content. What is being asked of me? What is the overall idea? After I read through that and I go through any periodicals, articles, journals, the other thing I do is I download it as a PDF and then I play it in audio. So as I'm figuring out what I'm going to do, my next steps, instead of sitting here and idling time, I'm listening to the content. And this is a strategy that that actually was told me by a speech pathologist about 15 years ago or so, when I was reviewing collective bargaining agreements. And I've learned that this strategy helps me absorb information. And when I extra, but when you have a child that's trying to learn, and if you think about, I'll give you the basic strategy, the alphabet. When you teach children the alphabet, A, B, C, D, you put in a song. Wow, we've known this forever. We've known this tactic, which is pretty much the same melody as the Itsy Bitsy Spider, almost very similar to Happy Birthday, the same chords. But the reason why all of our children know this by memory is because we sing it to them. Hush-a-bye, baby, right? All has the same sound, right? Go to sleep. It's the same idea, right? So I can give you all the child songs. But when you think about it, we are programming our little ones from day one that when they hear it, they know, oh, that's my song. I know the words. And there's many types of methods that people have actually translated into music. So if you think about it, you can do this, but you don't even need music. When you hear the audio as an adult, when you hear it in an audio version as static in your background, you tend to pick it up. This is an example. This method for motivation is intrinsic, because this is something you just would want to do. The reward is really in the continuation of whatever you're doing. This is not a reward that is something that's going to give you that value or that payout, I should say. Now, if you think, well, I want to be in school to get a degree, that becomes a long-term goal and a long-term motivational, extrinsic motivation, right? Because that's in the end, there's your reward. So there's different perspectives and different ways to analyze all this great information. I love positive self-talk. 9 out of 10 when I'm driving, my phone is positioned right at my window because I have my GPS. Whenever I'm new somewhere, I like to have my GPS. But 9 out of 10 people probably think that I'm on the phone. I work things out through positive self-talk. And everything I state is as a matter of fact. For example, instead of saying, oh, I hope I get to go to the store, I'll state it as, when I go to the store today, I will purchase these things. Now, that's an example. I'm using that type of talk as the example where I can say, when I get home, just an example, use it for anything, but it's owning the experience. So I'm not saying if, I'm not saying I want, I'm owning it as if it will occur or it has occurred. So it's either past tense or present tense, but I own it. So it's not a wish, it's not future, it's not I hope, I dream. That's not going to help you. When you manifest your positive self-talk to be motivational, you need to say things that build you up. And again, I've said any type of affirmation that you provide to yourself, you really have to mean it. So, like, I'll give you an example. My good friend has a sign when you walk to their home, and it says home sweet home. But she is always upset. Her boyfriend is always upset. They slam doors, and they both hate that sign. And I said, well, why do you have it up there? Well, they got it. They saw it on Pinterest, whatever it was. I said, well, your design doesn't fit your nature and attitude. So, having home sweet home on your door, but you're not acting like it's your home sweet home, that's also part of not motivating to do extra things. Because I'll tell you, if I have on my door right now, it would say home sweet. I love my home. I love it because of the people who live in it and how I feel in my home, right? But I used to have this pillow on my front porch, and it said, welcome, but you must leave by 9. And it was like the funniest thing, and everybody would say, oh, I gotta leave at 9? I'm like, yeah, my bedtime's 7. You need to go. But the thing is, it's funny because I'm saying welcome, right? I want you to feel welcomed. And I always tend to, whoever walks in my home, I want them to leave with, wow, that was a great experience. Right? So those are motivations to come back and visit. So there's all these different methods. Now, some of the other things that I really want to dive into is the expectation. So you really don't want your motivation to be an expectation. Like, I'll give you an example. If I get an A, my parents will be proud of me. So there's a reward there. The reward is you're looking or seeking for some type of affirmation from another person. However, you do not control other people. You control yourself most of the time. So when you say, if I get an A, I hope my parents will be proud of me, is not a motivational tool. So how do you transition you getting an A? Well, if I work hard and I do everything that's expected of me, I will earn an A. Now, you turned getting that A as a self-achievement and a self-award, which is an extrinsic motivational method. And now you own it. Because I'll give you an example, and I always love to provide you multiple examples so you can think about things. If you depend on someone else to provide happiness for you, you will always be wallowing in sadness. I used to have a coworker that would come into work and I would go, do, 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 here comes the pity parade, the pity parade. And it was funny because they would laugh, but they were always so miserable. But that was their personality. And I think that deep down inside, they liked the attention they got from having that persona. But to me, they were loving and funny. To other people, they were like, what's their problem? But that's what they projected. The thing about that is sometimes how people perceive you can really affect who you are and what you put out. Never, ever, ever use your motivation, and you can take this to the bank, based on other people's opinions. You all know I love fashion. I do. I can't help it. I love fashion so much. And one time I went to work and someone said, and I went to work and I felt like, yeah, I feel great. And someone said, where are you going? And you must have heard me tell you this because I had mentioned to them, oh, baby, I arrived. And their response was, well, aren't you overdressed? And I was like, well, aren't you underdressed? Now, this went on for a minute, and this is a person that I would always engage with like this. A battle of the wits, sometimes they are prepared, so you will be there going back and forth. Now, that particular person I truly love, so I'm going to let it be. But you never want to do things for other people's reactions, okay? So when I do my hair and do my nails and feel amazing and wear a suit or wear a dress or wear it's because I motivate myself. That's intrinsic. I want to feel this way. I want to look this way. And that's a hard idea because sometimes people feel they constantly have to compete and you don't. You do not. Don't. The last person you want to compete with is anybody outside yourself. If you don't compete with who you were yesterday, you will never excel to be who you want to be tomorrow. And you can quote me on that. Because if you are always looking at others, you will never ascertain their life. I'll tell you, I used to say all the time, when I think about like certain actresses, Angelina Jolie, I love Angelina, whatever, the Pitt, the Aniston, whatever that is. I've always been a huge fan of Lara Croft, okay? And I used to be like, wow, she's amazing. It doesn't matter if I change my name to Angelina Jolie. I would wear a long braid. I won't be her. I can't look like her. Even if I got all the plastic surgery in the world. Even if I replicated all her acting roles, I will never be her. I will never understand what she went through as a child. All I can do is appreciate who she is. So one day I was at work, and this is back when I was on my fitness. And I have a specific style. My style is very flexible. But on this particular day, I had like a white quarter sleeve shirt. I had a long braid. I had on my aviator glasses. And I went to work and my colleague was like, Angelina. And I was like, oh, who are they talking to? Jolie. And I was like, oh, who are they talking? And then they tapped me on the shoulder, I'm talking to you. And I was like, oh, my name is Fanny. Like, you know my name? They're like, girl, you really embodied her today. And I was laughing because that happened not on purpose. So, not that, if you see me right now, you're going to be like, girlfriend, you 2 cheeseburgers from that, right? But that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is it was never a competition. It was appreciation. And I have this for so many other actresses. I'll even tell you a singer that I love is Lizzo. Lizzo embodies just appreciation of oneself. And I love to listen to Lizzo, and I love to be about whatever she's about. And so, these are people in our lives that we don't look to become. We don't look to aspire to. We don't even look to maybe go in their genre or their work. We just utilize who they are as kind of motivational music. Right? Like what we listen to when we work out. This is the sound in the background of our lives. And a lot of people do this, So what shouldn't you use? Okay, so recently I learned, I talk about the positives of what you should, what you could. And I also mentioned some things, but I need to contrast. I need to give you the no's. I do. So one big no I have is when you're on social media. Have you ever posted something on social media and then like a half an hour later, maybe one of your friends posted something that was very similar, or posted something that was similar but in contrast to you? So what do you do in those situations? Okay, so you're there, you're with the pumpkin, it's pumpkin season, you put your baby on the pumpkin, you're holding the pumpkin, you're loving the pumpkin, and you're like, pumpkin season? Well, if it's pumpkin season, 5,000 million other people are pumpkin seasoning. So if you post a pumpkin season, you may have inspired others to pumpkin season post, okay? Don't be offended. Don't be offended. Be complimentary. Oh, wow. Hey, must be the time. And I say this because if your first feeling is offense, that you got to kind of self-reflect a little bit. That's not an offense. Now, let's say you do the same thing again and somebody writes, oh, so basic. Pumpkin season. Not me. Right? So that person is not complimentary of your post. And they didn't mention your name. And they may even say, I never even saw your post, right? Don't worry about it. That is on them. So how you may have felt offended, they feel offended. And that, it lives with them, and they need self-reflection. Again, don't buy into it, okay? Now, I mention this because a lot of people say, well, their grass looks greener than my grass. The whole time it was AstroTurf. You had no idea. Wow, but their roses are so beautiful. Yeah, they bought them in Joann's. Like, think about it. You can't live your life that way. And you really shouldn't. It's unhealthy. It is unhealthy. Every single person wakes up in the morning, has their own trials and tribulations that they need to go through, and their own discovery of what motivates them to push them through. By you attempting to understand and dissect what they're going through or try to replicate what they have, you cannot be successful. So in your motivational tactics, you need to X out those factors. Those are not your X factors, those are your X'd out factors. Okay? Now, how can you improve upon that? I'll tell you. I always used to say, I'm not going to like anything. What a waste of time. But then I thought, I would have people in my family say, hey, you didn't like my post. And I would be like, well, I didn't know he meant so much to you. So the fact that it means so much to them is my motivation that if it passes by, I now always like it. I always like it. Because I don't want them to feel a certain way. I honestly don't read into it for myself. Because I don't find it to be a true gauge of value. Okay. However, if someone does feel that is their gauge of value, it doesn't hurt me to acknowledge what they're doing. And if I happen to stumble across what they did. So, with that example, for both those posts, pumpkin season or anti-pumpkin season, I hit like on both. Why? One, if I did truly see it, I'm going to like it. Two, it does kind of give a standard response of kudos to you. I'm going to tell you, someone in my life taught me this, kudos to you. I always would think it's offensive to say good for you, right? Good for you. But one day I told my husband, oh my God, guess what? He's like, what happened? I actually finished this year my undergraduate degree. So I get to graduate this year. This was a while ago. This was 2014, okay? And he was like, good for you. And I was like, well, what do you mean good for me? What do you mean good for me? Well, it's good for you. It's good for you. And I didn't understand, but the tone was different. It wasn't good for you. It was good for you. Like, oh, I'm so happy for you. And I was like, what? What do you, normally someone say, hey, that's great news, but it doesn't impact his life. So why would it be great for him? Or that's wonderful. Or that's those are terms I use. You will constantly hear me applaud someone with, that's wonderful. I'm so proud of you. That's amazing. But that's me. And I can't seek from someone else an answer that I need to hear in my own inner voice. Because maybe at that time I wasn't proud of myself, or I felt like I was too delayed. So when he said good for you, and then he explained why, I was like, wait, it is good for me. Oh my God. It's a new perspective of me owning my accomplishments and not looking for my parents, right? It goes back to if I get an A, my parents would be proud of me. My husband is married to me. He's proud of me. He's stuck with me. I wasn't looking for that. Now, most of you know both of my parents are gone, and my grandparents who acted as my parents. And, sometimes I do look for that in them, but they don't exist. They're in heaven, right? Well, they existed, now in heaven, right? So I feel like, oh, well, who's going to pat me on the back? Who's going to say great job? Who's going to say well done? I will say it, because at the end of the day, and I will say this to everyone, always love yourself. Love everyone, but don't forget to love yourself. And that is self-motivation within itself. Looking back in hindsight, understanding, hey, I did amazing things. Or, oh my goodness, I did some terrible things, but thank goodness I'm on the right track now. Hey, I'm sobriety. Hey, I bought a house. Hey, whatever it is. Whatever is your, hey, I lost weight. Hey, I was trying to gain weight. Whatever it is. Think about those things, because these are things that created who you are today, and that is your self-motivation. Now, with that said, I hope that this journey motivated you somehow in some way, and I always love hearing your feedback. And thank you for actually sending me this topic and asking me to speak about motivation. You know who you are, and I appreciate all of you. With that said, have a fantastic life. Take care. Talk to you later.